All right, welcome back to our look inside cells. We are going over our different organelles. We already covered our cell wall, cell membrane, nucleus, and the parts of the nucleus. So we're going to look at the different things that are floating around inside the cytoplasm now. Our first thing is our mitochondria. This is known as the powerhouse of the cell. This is where your energy comes from. So anytime you eat food, your cells take in this food, put it into the mitochondria, and the mitochondria takes the energy from it, takes the energy from it and uses that energy to carry out the cell's functions. So your mitochondria is your powerhouse. This is your battery, so to speak. What powers all your different functions in your body comes from mitochondria. Our next one is our endoplasmic reticulum. You'll see that based on our diagram, this is kind of attached to our nucleus in our nuclear envelope there. And this is your network of passageways to carry materials from one part of the cell to another. So you can think of this as like a road structure where traffic goes, and different materials such as RNA, which we'll talk about later, can go through. You'll also note that there are a bunch of ribosomes inside this as well. And remember, ribosomes are important for protein synthesis. Next is our ribosome. Ribosome is found all over the cell. You can find them in mitochondria, you can find it in the endoplasmic reticulum, and you can find it floating around in the cytoplasm. You can think of ribosomes as factories. These are where you make proteins. So normally your cell has some kind of function that it needs to produce a product from. For example, if you're a hair cell, then your protein is your hair. Maybe if you have an eye cell, your different colors of your eye would be a protein that they make. Proteins are made in the ribosome. Next is our Golgi bodies. These are our shipping centers. You can think once we make something, we can package it up and ship it out. Whether that means it needs to leave the cell and go somewhere else, or if it needs to go to a different part of the cell. You do that through the Golgi body here. Not all cells have a chloroplast. They are found in autotrophs only. These are the structures inside your cell that allow the capture of the sunlight to produce food through photosynthesis. They do have a green pigment to them, and this is normally why your autotrophs look green. For example, your plant's leaves have a bunch of these in it, and your leaves tend to be green. If you remember your different autotrophic protists, you had green algae and brown algae and red algae. Red algae actually has a little bit adapted chloroplasts to take in other wavelengths besides everything actually but green. These are the structures that help turn sunlight into glucose, along with your water and carbon dioxide. Next, we have our vacuoles. If you remember from our protist chapter, we did speak about vacuoles as a contractile vacuole, which expelled water from the cell. Vacuoles are simply just storage areas. These are places to store food or water or even wastes. They're found in some animal cells, but not all. Most plant cells have a huge one of these things. As you can see from our diagram down here, this is a plant cell. You see the cell wall. Pretty good giveaway there. Your vacuole is going to store all that energy that your chloroplasts are producing. Lysosomes, our next organelle. These are your janitors. They clean up the cell. They break down materials that no longer are in use, and they also dissolve large chunks of food, so your organelles can use that, whether it's your mitochondria to produce energy, stuff like that. They clean up, get rid of waste and stuff like that. Yeah, you can just think of them as your cleanup crew or your janitors. Our last thing we want to touch on is the specialized cells, because in a lot of organisms have more than one cell. Your cells tend to specialize in different things. For example, you have skin cells, you have nerve cells, you have blood cells. These cells specialize in their functions, so they don't have to carry out every single task that your body needs to do. So these cells do organize themselves into tissues. For example, you probably have like heart tissue or something, and then you have a whole bunch of tissues that go together to organize into organs. So a whole bunch of heart tissue organizes into your heart, and then you have a whole bunch of organs that organize into organ systems. So your heart and your arteries, your veins and your capillaries all go into your blood system or circulatory system. Just so each of the cells don't have to carry out every single function. That's going to conclude it for organelles. Again, I will strongly suggest that you make flashcards to know those. That is a lot of information, and it's really just a memorization thing.